football practice, karate class, the chess club, work, dinner, school, yoga, the doctor's appointments, the field trips, and the pets. And did you forget you promised to make some cupcakes for somebody's birthday party? Why did you even agree to do that? Does this look like your calendar? It is enough to make your head explode. And really, how can one person be expected to do all of those things and be all of these things to so many people? And listen to this, why do we sacrifice both our physical and mental well-being to make all of this happen in the first place? Sound like you? Well, you probably have a condition known as Superwoman Syndrome. And listen, ladies, it is okay to take off that cape. Let's talk about it today on Portia. Welcome to Portia. So really, what is this whole thing about being a superwoman? Superwoman Syndrome is a term that was coined back in 1984. And what does it mean? Well, in general, it's this idea of trying to do it all, trying to juggle life and family and career and everything in between, all while neglecting yourself and your own personal needs, struggling for perfection in our different roles without considering the physical and really the emotional toll that it's taking on all of us. As women, society expects us to be perfect. We're both the CEOs and the caregivers. So how do we find the right balance? Well, my first guest is an attorney, a CEO, a magazine publisher, a host, a wife, a mother, a daughter, and really the type of woman who considers it really important to take good care of her friends. I leave anything out? No.
Pretty much, no, that's it.
This is Tamika Johnson, and we thank you so much because we know you're aware of what it's like to try to do it all, but you've also really found a way to find balance. How did you do that?
Yeah, so I just got to a point where I almost couldn't breathe. We start wearing these capes, and a beautiful cape it was that I had.
Yeah.
It had colors, it was flowing, it had glitter, all of that. But the more that you have on your cape, the heavier it gets.
The heavier it gets. Tell
and
the truth.
The more you feel like you can't breathe sometimes.
And tell me a little bit more about your story and your life, because you have a lot of professional hats, and then you've got that mom and the wife hat, and we know that those are right up there at the top.
Yeah, so I've been wearing a cape, like, again, for 20 years now. It started when I was 25 when I became a single mother. After my first year of law school, I had my daughter, and immediately, shortly thereafter, at 5 weeks, I was back at law school, working at a law firm, full-time after that. And it started from there. I got on that wheel, that hamster wheel, of not stopping, hustling, grinding.
The recitals, right? The practice, got to be here, got to be there. Promise to bring the snacks.
Yes,
for every activity.
Everything, yes. And in addition to that, once I graduated law school, I started my own law firm. Why did I do that? I was the receptionist, I was the paralegal, I was the office manager, I was also the attorney. But I took that on, it was my responsibility, it's what I wanted to do.
Right, and at some point this led to almost a breakdown for you, right?
It did. That was in addition to being in a relationship. In a toxic relationship. In a relationship I shouldn't have been in, but I settled there because I had succeeded in everything else that I attempted to do.
And that's part of it, right?
Yes, and I thought I could turn this relationship
to the success
around.
and making it all work. And then you got remarried and then had 2 more kids.
I got married at 41 and I had 2 more kids after 40, 41 and 43. But it wasn't easy. At 40, between 40 and 45, and 45 now, I've had 5 pregnancies, 3 miscarriages, 2 children. And
that's
so
a lot.
Even going through the hormonal changes, right, over those years, and just nursing. I nursed my youngest son for 15 months. And within that period of time, my husband's father passed. And that meant that his mother came to stay with us. So our mother-in-law lives with us, and still having
trying to take
kids.
care of young people and the elders in the home as well. It sounds like, though, ultimately, like so many of our viewers, you recognize that there's just always going to be some storms, right?
Absolutely.
And it's just a matter of how are you going to manage those storms. Talk to us about your specific strategies for managing these storms and finding this balance.
Absolutely. So you get to a point, again, where you feel like you can't breathe. You just can't take it anymore. You think there has to be more to life than this. And so I had to have a conversation with my husband, and I said, something's got to give. And I started off with 1 day a week.
1 day a week. Let's talk about this. Living by your calendar. You've got some specific strategies here that I think a lot of people who are wearing this cape can relate to. And it was living by my calendar is number one.
Yes.
Talk more about that.
Listen, if it's not on my calendar, it's not happening. If I say I'm going to call you and it's not on the calendar, it's not happening.
That's honest,
so,
right?
Yes. So, yeah, I definitely live on my calendar. I schedule everything on there so that it happens.
And then you said if there's just 1 day a week where you don't have a bunch of appointments, right?
So 1 day a week.
That's got to be tricky, though, when you've got so much going on.
It can be, but you have to be really diligent to do it. So on Thursdays, it had been for the longest. Thursdays was my day. Whatever appointment you're trying to schedule, whether it's a client, a law firm client, a matchmaking client, anyone, you cannot schedule an appointment with me on Thursday.
Okay.
It's just blocked off.
And then that's different from your Sundays, right? Because Sunday is your my day, right?
My day, yes. So Thursdays are for my kids, for my son, for my date nights with my husband. Sundays, it's all about me. That's just me.
And that's okay, right? Because there's some people who feel like, I can't have a me day. That's so selfish. I've got to do the laundry. I've got to do this. I've got to make sure I get that appointment. Oh, I do have some time. It's okay to have some time for you.
Absolutely. Need to have that time.
Exactly.
It's a requirement now in the house.
And then prioritizing the family, the couples, and the me trips. I love this.
Yeah. I love my kids. I love my husband.
However,
but I love me too.
Yes.
And sometimes you need that just to reset and recharge, and that may mean spending a night at a hotel for one night or a weekend, and it's just you to reset.
Right.
In order for you to give yourself back to everyone who needs you, whether
You've
it's
got
your
to
job,
have some time to recharge your battery.
Yeah, absolutely. You
I
need
love
that
it.
time. Sometimes it means doing nothing on Sundays.
That's a real challenge. Every challenge for a lot of folks, but I think a lot of women are ready to accept that challenge, right?
So.
All right, we wanted to share some of your advice with one of our viewers, so we put out a call to local superwomen, and we heard from one who seems to really have a lot going on. Take a look.
Hi Portia, it's Kimberly. I'm coming to you asking this S off my chest. I am a mom, I am a wife, and I give all I can every day, and sometimes I feel so guilty for simply wanting to take time for myself. I feel mom guilt, I feel wife guilt, I feel just about every type of guilt there is, and saying, hey, I can't do it anymore. I want to take this S off my chest without feeling the guilt. Please help me.
Sound familiar? When we return, you're going to meet Kimberly, a superwoman who says she needs help taking off her cape. We're going to help you. We're going to take it off one little inch at a time. We'll be right back. Welcome back. We've been talking about Superwoman Syndrome, those women who generously pour everything into everyone else and then end up with an empty cup. Sound familiar? Well, my next guest says she knows the struggle of trying to live up to that standard all too well. Welcome, Kimberly Biggs. And Kimberly, you say you're a superwoman who's ready to take that S off the chest, right? Yes. It's time to take the cape off and shift gears here, right?
Right.
You've got a lot on your plate as a businesswoman and as a mother and a wife. Explain.
Yes. So, well, I have 3 children. I'll start with my day. I wake up at 6 a.m., make sure I get them a healthy breakfast. All of them are in 3 different schools. Mind you, I do have a 15-year-old who's in high school, so she is preparing to want to be just about everything in the world. Yes,
right.
She wants
so
to
that
be
means
great.
a whole bunch of extracurricular activities,
yes,
right?
So that's with
Got
her.
it.
My 8-year-old, she wants to be in school full time, so she's 5 days a week. And then I have a son who is on the autism spectrum, who I have made the decision to put him in school
2 days and he's home 3 days. That way he can still get his therapy and different things like that.
So lots of appointments to juggle there,
yes.
right?
So so it is a lot to you know, handle, as well as my husband having his own business in the trucking industry. Trucking never sleeps. They're always up. It's always moving. So literally my phone, his phone is always ringing. So it's always noise in
and
my
you're
home.
taking care of elders as well, right? Explain.
I do take care of elders, but I mean, my mom, she's on her own. She does very well, but when my dad transitioned, I made a promise to myself as well to him that I would one day be able to take care of her financially, and I will stick to that and honor that.
And so with all, and that is to be honored, because that is more than a notion, and that is beautiful. But on top of all of that, you've got your own businesses, and ultimately not a whole lot of time for yourself, right?
No, not a lot of time for myself. It just hasn't been something that I have prioritized. It made a thing for me. As I get older, I realize the importance of it, and you know, I understand that I do need to pour into them, but I do need to find time to pour into myself.
And to the point, like so many moms, you just got to the point where you just like forget the doctor's appointments, noticed something was a little different, went to the doctor and found out.
I was 5 months pregnant, but you know,
and you had no clue.
No, it was no clue besides, you know, the elders will tell you, you know,
right, baby,
baby, you might want to go to the doctor. So I'm like, so, you know, just dealing with life. Like I said, I am very candid about life. It happens. My husband had lost his company, and so we were in a whirlwind of just trying to figure out how to make it.
And so, and it's in those moments where it's easy to neglect. We're candid as well, as talking about weight gain that came after all of this.
And I'm still trying to get it off.
Which of course then requires the time to exercise. It's so much to deal with, right?
Yes, it's a lot to deal with. It takes an emotional toll on you, especially when you realize you're looking at yourself in pictures. You're not looking at yourself as you would want to see yourself. You know, when you look in the mirror, it's like, hold on. Now you become a memory. Like, I remember her, but wait, I'm still the same person, but where is she?
I have to imagine this sounds familiar, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, we get so consumed with our children, our significant others, that we definitely forget about ourselves. But I think it's important to note for women, we talk about taking off the cape. Not only do we want to take off the cape, we want to burn it, we want to incinerate it, we want to cremate it, we want to spread its ashes over the Mediterranean. We don't want to see it again, because what happens is...
Which, you know, makes some women cringe, right? Because they feel like somehow that is a reflection of you not being your best self to everyone else. But you're saying that's not the case.
That's not the case. Because we'll be tempted to go back and put that cape back on. So you have to really be conscious of getting rid of it.
So let's start with this. We're going to start by taking off the cape, right? And when we return, Tamika is going to have some tips to help Kimberly remove that S from her chest. Stay tuned. Hey there, welcome back. We've been talking to Kimberly, a superwoman and mother of 3, who says her commitment to her family, work, and everyone else who relies on her has left her with no time to herself. That's a story a lot of viewers like you just completely understand, right? That work-life balance strategy is so important, and that's why we brought Tamika Johnson back to offer some great advice to all of us about how to make life and more time for ourselves just a little easier to come by, right?
Yes. And so we have to think of the concept of guilt, and not to have guilt when you find time for yourself, because it is vital that you get that time. I was reading a quote not too long ago that said, not all heroes wear capes, and that's so true. Being a true hero is being there for your partners, being there for your children, being there for yourself so you can continue to pour into them.
Does that sound like something that you are getting to? Do you feel like you're getting to that place yet?
You know, I definitely do feel like I'm getting there. It took a moment. Well, it took a lot of moments to get there.
It's a process.
You know, because I feel the mom guilt, the wife guilt, the child guilt, you know, and...
But let me ask you this. How much of that really is self-imposed? Because it's not like there's really anyone in our lives saying, you know, you didn't bake those cupcakes and we saw you at the store buying them instead. Or it's not like the kids say, oh man, it was cold cereal, we really wanted oatmeal, right? So I wonder how much of it is self-imposed guilt.
Well, yeah, when you say it like that, you know, I probably impose a lot on myself.
We're always our own worst critics, right?
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And I have literally probably put more scenarios in my head than I can possibly
That
think about.
overthinking?
It's overthinking to the point of, I think I was literally saying I try to slay a dragon before it's even a dragon.
Right.
It's not even there,
It's not
and
a
I'm over here trying
It
to
is
fight.
literally a moth, and
Right.
you like trying to
Literally
cut
like,
at it.
I got to get it.
Again, something you hear all the time, right?
Absolutely. And so sometimes we worry about things that we have no control over, and that's taking away from us. We live in a society and culture where we send our kids off, we don't know what's going to happen. But you know, we can't worry about those things. We can only do the best that we can do in preparing ourselves, preparing our children, and knowing that we've sent them the right way to the safest place that we could.
And it really
so-
comes down to those standards that we set, right, as working women, as professionals, and, you know, working full-time at home, just trying to make sure you get everything covered at the house. It's these standards and these bars
Right.
that are sometimes, it's not that it's too high, it's just not realistic.
Right. And a work-life balance is really eliminating or decreasing the amount of stress that you have in your life. And that's what's important. So, and also our most important relationships suffer when we try to be everything to everyone, especially our spouses. And we don't give time to our spouses. And finding that work-life balance, we have better quality, healthy relationships.
Right.
And that's what keeps you going at the end of the day.
Because every conversation can't always be about the kids and the appointments, and it's got to be about those things that connected you in the first place, right?
Right. The intimacy, you've got to maintain that intimacy and keep it going. There will always be, as we said earlier, disruptions and chaos in your life. But home is the sanctity of your marriage, right?
Yeah.
So
I want to
you've got to keep it going.
Date night, when's the last time?
You know, date night has been a while. It has been a while. It is something I'm vigilant of now and going to make a priority. I was just thinking the last time we actually took a trip, just the two of us.
Oh, wow.
Was
How long
probably
has that
about 3 years ago. Yeah, so I'm sure, you know, it's some definite things that I can do to make him feel included without including the kids. You know, date night, even, you know, all the way down. I mean, I'm all the way down to everything that goes on that needs to go
Everything
on in a
that needs
marriage.
to happen has to be tended to and
All
has to
of
be
it.
nurtured for
Yes.
both of you. That's so important. I know you've got some specific strategies in place that you like to share with recovering superwomen.
Yes.
Where do you begin?
So number one, and I say this to everyone regardless of their status, is you need to have quiet time. And that means at least once a week, even if it's for an hour. It could be 3 hours, 5 hours, where that is your time to do absolutely nothing, rest, stimulation free. It
And
could be again taking a nap, but it
Yeah.
does not mean running chores or errands or doing any of those things.
Right, because that's what we always do when we get a little bit of
Yes.
free time. Instead of making it downtime, it's errand time, right? Hobbies, extracurricular activities. How important is that, especially when you're like, I don't have time for that on my schedule?
Very important. I am starting tennis lessons in a couple weeks.
Nice,
That's
okay.
just for me. It's not my husband, it's not my kids. It's something different. It's something active to get you out the house. You need something that you enjoy doing.
And quickly
on your
here,
own.
therapy, counseling, and the break from the cell phone.
Oh yeah.
Because that cell phone will get you in a whole rabbit hole of
Yes.
foolishness trying to
Yeah.
do other things that weren't even on your list, right?
If you can take 2 hours a day, let's say between 6 p.m. and 8 p.m. without your phone, continue doing whatever you're doing.
You said 6 to 8. You're
6 to
taking a
8.
nap,
Yeah,
right?
I'll
Cell
take
phone
that.
free.
Okay.
Absolutely. And that way you can actually concentrate or give all your attention to your kids, whatever you're doing, or your husband, whatever it is you're doing, give your full attention.
Okay.
Because sometimes we're on our phone and our kids, mommy. They're
Right.
doing all of that. They know that you're distracted.
So we're wrapping up all of that. Date
2 hours
nights
a day.
and a cell phone
Date
break. That's
night,
on your
cell phone.
that's on your
Yep,
to-do list.
that is.
Good advice. All right, we'll be right back. All right, listen, Superwoman, it is time to give yourself some grace. The same grace you give to others and the same grace that God gives you. You take all of the people and all of the tasks that need to be taken care of and you handle it. And even on the days that you miss a few items, that's okay too. It's okay to buy the cupcakes instead of baking 2 dozen, and your children will survive on a bowl of cereal and the banana instead of the oatmeal and biscuits you usually make. Stop feeling so guilty. You pour a lot into others, but you can't pour from an empty cup. So take care of yourself. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next time. Until then, be the reason why someone smiles.